everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Laws of Community. Welcome.
Welcome.
And so, as you guys know, it's the first Thursday of this month, so we have brought it back to the beginning, as this episode is all about, is kind of getting started, the beginning of things, new adventures, new journeys, new pathways. And, we have a really special guest that is amazing talking about those things, talking about, getting yourself started, getting yourself on the right path in your life. And she's doing some things like that right now with herself. You have anything you want to add, Hannah, about our guest?
Well, I mean, not necessarily about our guest just yet. I
Or
wanted
about our
to,
episode?
welcome everyone. Happy May, and May the 4th be with you. There we go. I'm good.
May the 4th be with you.
We need some theme music or something for that, I feel like, but no, it's probably copyrighted
Yeah.
or something. But no, happy May. I'm so glad it's a new month. If you haven't done anything to like refresh yourself for a new month, definitely do that. That's always good to have new beginnings and start in new places. Because we usually get like stagnant in our ways, and then we're not as creative, we're not as fluent in everything. And hun, I absolutely love that I can hear the birds behind you.
Oh, I'm glad. That's awesome.
But yeah,
I can barely hear them because of my headphones.
because of your headphones. Well, you have good word
Cancel
mic, a
out.
good mic on
Cancellation.
your phone.
A good mic. Oh, okay.
No, good mic.
Well, and
Nonetheless.
adding on to this being the start of May and all that too, and kind of going into the underlying tone of our episode too. If you think about it, where we're at, we didn't really get much of it, but April showers bring May flowers. So May is the start. It is a new beginning. And if you think about it, all the things about history and the different calendars and stuff too. I actually learned this recently. May is actually the time when it used to be the beginning of the year, way back then. So, it really is a new start.
Yeah. Well, see, and then I got excited the other day, because I drove up and I was like, "Oh, there's flowers outside." Wait, there was flowers out during April. Doesn't April flowers mean May showers? I got it flipped over. And then someone told me I was wrong, and I was like, "Dang, I was hoping for lots and lots of rain, but no, I was wrong."
Yeah.
So I got
Well,
that one flipped.
That's beautiful. Well, everybody, we will be happy to announce our guest now. It is an amazing guest of ours, Patti
Yes.
Stueland. She is the Pathfinder, and here she is to teach you a little bit about what it means to kind of find your path and to live your best life.
Welcome,
Merry month of May to you, Ron and Hannah. How are you? It is exciting to be here with the two of you. And it's not only the merry month of May, what you were just talking about, but it is also Thankful Thursday. And I've got to tell you guys right now, I am extremely thankful to the two of you for having me here with you today. I've been looking forward to this, and I've been following, your journey from the very beginning, and it's been exciting to see that here you are with your show. I think that's fabulous, and I get to be a part of it. That's a bonus.
Thank you so much, and we are so thankful for you being here with us too today. And sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Hannah.
No, yeah, it's all fabulous. So I'm just very excited for what you're doing, and someday I hope to do the same thing that you guys are doing, and that's why it's just going along with I'm creating pathways all the time for Pathways with Patti, because that's what I do. That's how my life has been when you start reflecting on your life, really, that's how my life has been going. I just never looked at it in those terms before. And the thing is, just because you get to a certain point, I turned 62 a couple months ago, and a lot of people think, oh, you're retired. So what does that mean? Oh, that means I just play golf, or I'm playing pickleball all the time, or I'm arts and crafting. And that is absolutely fantastic if that is what you're doing. I know for me, I've done those things, but I knew that there was way more that I still wanted to accomplish. So I've got to say, in the last year and about 4 months, it's kind of like things have just really taken off. Although when I look back upon my life, I have been a go-getter. And so I make things happen because I take advantage of the opportunities. And isn't that what it's all about? I mean, especially whatever community that you're in. I know with myself, I'm located in the high desert of Southern California. And for the most part, it's been very rural. It's been very small. And people tend to just pretty much stay here. They don't get out of this community, and which can be a blessing and it can be a curse. And one of the things that I know that when I was teaching, because I'm now a retired teacher after 35 years of education, one of the things I always told my kids is, you know what, the thing is you want to do when we have a spring break or winter break or summer break, just for a day, get out of the high desert, go what we call down the hill, just so you can experience some different things, because there's so much more than just this community. I mean, there's a whole big world out there. And it always, I don't know why it amazed me, but it did in a very sad sense. I would always ask my kids these questions about, it was from the book of If. And so one of the questions I ask, and these are high school kids that I'm asking these questions of, I asked, if you could live in any building in the whole entire world, where would you live? The kids kind of sat there for a second, and all of a sudden, several of them go, oh, I know, Miss Stueland, I know. And I go, yeah, where would it be? I'm thinking like, the White House or the Taj Mahal or something like that. No, they're saying, oh, the Mall of Victor Valley. That's our local little mall right here. And I said, did you not understand what the question was? If you could live in any building in the whole entire world, where would you live? Oh yeah, I'd want to live in the Mall of Victor Valley. And that was another way for me to see that these kids they're thinking small. And this community is wonderful. I'm not knocking this community at all. I mean, I've been up here now for over 35 years. I love it. My point is, I just don't want people just to get stuck in the mentality of what is offered here in the high desert. And that's one of the things that my life has been based on. And I can thank my parents, because even though we did not have very much money, my parents made sure that we went camping to out to the desert, or we went out to the mountains, or we went to the beach, or whatever it was. And it really piqued my sense of travel and getting to meet new people and experience new things. And I know how important that was for me. And I wanted my students to be able to have that same thing, because same thing, growing up in my little one-horse town of Chino, everybody knew everybody and everybody helped one another. And that was the great thing about our community. But I knew I also wanted something more than that. And I wanted that for my students. And what really was shocking to me is each year when I was coaching the girls' tennis team, I had a friend down by the beach a couple hours away. She had a tennis team down there. And preseason, I would take my kids down there. We would have a tennis match against them. And then I would take them to the beach afterwards. It never failed to amaze me that I'd take these kids, and most of them were juniors and seniors in high school. And I remember one time we went there after our match was done, and one of the kids, it looked like she fell on the sand. And I looked over and I asked, are you okay? And she goes, Miss Stueland, I've never touched sand before. I've never been to the beach before. Now, this kid has lived her whole life just 2 hours away from the beach. And this is the first time she's ever touched beach sand. And it broke my heart, but it made me feel good that I was able to bring that to her. And that's just not, as you both are finding out from the show that you're doing, that is very common across our country and all over the world, that we do get very set in our communities. And part of what Pathways with Patti is all about is expanding people's horizons for what the possibilities are out in the world. And even if you are, because of whatever reasons, there are ways for you to still, especially with technology, as we all learned from COVID happening. I mean, you can stay in touch with your community, live in your community, but look at how you guys are reaching out to such a wide span of people just through this program and connecting with people. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, and congratulations to you for creating this platform. This is amazing.
Thank you.
So if you don't
Absolutely.
mind,
Thank you.
I'll share some more of my story if that's good with the two of you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Absolutely.
We would love that.
Well,
we would
as
love
I
for
said,
you to share.
Perfect. As I mentioned, I was an educator, and when I turned 6 years old, I knew exactly I wanted to be a teacher because I fell in love with my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Gassman. I thought, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. This is incredible. And so all during elementary school, I wanted to be an elementary teacher. And then I got into 7th grade, into junior high, and I had my first class in physical education. And I thought, oh, I've hit the jackpot. This is a combination of my love for athletics and my love for teaching. I'm going to be a physical education teacher. And from that moment on, I never turned back. And talk about a sense of community, because neither one of my parents were able to go to higher education. They graduated from high school, but they did not go beyond that. So as far as helping me, because I was the first grandkid, and pretty much out of both sides of the family, that was ever going to go to higher education. So I didn't have a lot of resources family-wise to help me know what I needed to do. And that's where the community, luckily, that I was a part of with my coaches and my teachers, that I was able to go to them and say, can you help me with these applications? And what is it that I need to do? And they never batted an eye. They were always there to help me to get those things done. And several of my former teachers, that when I had breaks, when I was at college and I had breaks, they said, Patti, come on back. I'll let you teach my class and I'll let you do stuff like this. So I was getting field work before that. And so then I get my teaching job. I'm living my best life. My dreams are coming true. And I'm thinking I am going to teach until, probably at least 65 or 70 years old. And then when I was 50, my dad unfortunately succumbed to cancer. He had a 5-year battle with cancer, and that was really tough. And losing him, that it was devastating for me. But I thought, I'm Patti, I'm Miss PMA, positive mental attitude, it's okay. I can work through this grief process, on and on and on. And then one day when we finished with finals, one day I thought I was having a heart attack, and I drove myself to the emergency room. And I know that was a bad thing to do. I should have had somebody else do it. But I drove myself to the hospital, get in there, and I tell them, I think I'm having a heart attack. Boom, they start working. Well, after several days in the hospital, it was discovered that I was having anxiety panic attack. And they took it all back from, this was about almost 4 or 5 months after my dad had passed away. And they felt like it was due to the grief and stuff that I was suffering from losing my dad. But what I also discovered besides that was I was suffering from depression, and also discovered that also ran in the family. And of course, again, Ms. PMA, I'm thinking, depression, that's not me. And but I had to admit it. Yes, it was inherited. My dad had it. My grandmother had it. It was just something that they never talked about before. And that's one of the things that once I had discovered that I suffered from depression, I knew it was something I did not want it to stay in the closet anymore. I wanted to talk about it because it's nothing to be embarrassed by. But what it brought on was, did I really want to continue to be a teacher? Because a lot of things in education had changed quite a bit. And what I started to find out, that I was losing my passion and purpose for teaching. And so I got the call, and everybody has their higher power, whatever it is. For me, it is God. And I've always felt that he has led me on all of the paths that I have been on. And he does not steer me wrong. And he always gets a good laugh from me, because I think that I'm in charge. And when I think that I'm making these plans and I'm doing all these things, he goes, Patti, come on. You're forgetting you are not in charge here. And so he laughs, and then we move on from there. But I heard him tell me before my 55th birthday, guess what, Patti? This is going to be your final year of teaching because I have other things for you to do. Excuse me, what are you talking about? And it was true. I knew I needed to get out, because if I continued to stay on, even though I would make more money in retirement, if I held on a few more years, it came down to my health. And how much was my health worth? Because I was either going to have a stroke or I was going to have a heart attack because of the stress that I allowed to take over me. And so at 55, I retired. And I will have to say, when I knew I was going to retire, I did so many wonderful things during my final year of teaching. I just put it all out there. I was having a great time. It was one of my best teaching years. And of course, everybody goes, Patti, you're back on fire again. You can't retire now. You need to stay with it. And I go, it's because I know that I'm coming to the end of this path, that I'm able to put all this energy into it, because I'm going out on a high note. And that's what I did. I had no clue what I was going to be doing. But one of the things that I started doing is I got into our local junior college, and I took some classes for pure enjoyment, which I had never done before. Up to that point, everything I was always doing was towards my teaching or my coaching or keeping my teaching credential valid, all of those sort of things. It was never just for pure pleasure. So I actually took how to play the piano class at the college, and that was really awesome. And then I'd always done what I call Zen doodling. My friend Sue taught me how to Zen doodle, and I did drawing all my life, but I never took any official training for it. I took an introduction to drawing class, and then I took a second one. And then one of my former students was also one of our teachers on campus, and he was the woodshop teacher. And he says, Patti, come to my ROP class on Tuesdays and Thursdays and take my woodshop class. I go, can adults do that? He goes, yeah, you could do it. For my last 2 years of teaching, I learned how to do woodworking. And that's one of my, the greatest things that I do in retirement is do stuff with woodworking. So I just already started reinventing myself before I ever retired. So the word retirement for me was not about, oh, this really sucks. Now I will say, on June 1st of the year that I retired, which I cannot believe was 7 years ago, I'm finishing up my 7th year of retirement. At the July 1st, I knew that was the cutoff date, that I was no longer a active member of Apple Valley Unified School District. And I remember waking up that morning, and the first thought was, what in the heck have you just done? And it lasted for about, that panic lasted for about 10 minutes. And then it went away. And from that point on, I never looked back, because so many doors have opened. So many new pathways have opened. I went back to school. I became what's called a Certified Life-Cycle Celebrant, which means in my terms that I can officiate ceremonies womb to tomb. And I specialize in weddings and funerals. And so I was doing that for a few years. And then we all know about COVID that hit. So that kind of put a kibosh on all of that. But the other thing that happened, not on my timeline, but it's not about my timeline. I heard God say, you know what? It's time for you to live out your number one retirement goal of traveling the United States full time in your motorhome. And so it's like, wait, I hadn't planned on doing that for a couple more years. But once again, when God knocks, I listen. So that's what I did 4 years ago, sold my house. And the past 4 years, I have been traveling the United States full time. I've covered about 70% of the United States so far. And you want to talk about laws of community. You get out of just Southern California, born and raised in Southern California, but I've traveled my whole life. But even with that, people always say, why do you want to travel the United States? Don't you want to do the rest of the world? And yes, I will be getting to the rest of the world. And I am doing parts of that. Once a year, I try to do that. But what I have discovered over the last 4 years, that every state in the United States is almost like a different country. The foods, the accents, their rules and regulations, the people. And the community that I went from, this little high desert community, to now the United States, of getting to experience all these different people and all these different communities. Talk about my vision expanding. Well, all that has done is meeting those people, getting to know their stories. Many of them, of course, because of COVID, became full-time RVers themselves, and learning their story, just like the two of you are doing each week. You got different guests about their experiences on their path of life. Getting to learn those stories has been powerful. And so through that, I a year and a half ago almost, I found out I could still become, I wasn't too old to become a motivational speaker, which I always thought about doing. As an educator, you're already kind of a public speaker. You're doing like 5 to 6 shows a day for every single class. But to get out there and inspire and motivate people was always a secret passion of mine. And it was just like I had the opportunity to do it. I took the opportunity. I'm out motivating. I'm doing motivational speaking. I created my company, Pathways with Patti. And the whole thing is based on me knowing that I can inspire other people to live what I am now calling living your best dash. Now, I'm sure Hanna and Ron, if I say to you, are you guys living your best life? Are you living your best life, the two of you?
We're getting there. Definitely. We're definitely getting there.
And you're moving forward to that. Well, one of the things that I do when I talk to people, I'll say, are you living your best life? And people will always say, oh yeah, that's me. I'm living my best life. And then I said, well, let's take it one step further. How many of you are living your best dash? And then they're like, what? And so I'll tell them, we're so busy in life dashing from point A to point B. We never really think about the most important dash in our life. And that dash is the dash that will appear on our headstones after we leave this earth. Because if you go to a cemetery and you look at a headstone, you see the date of birth, you see what seems to be a very small and insignificant dash mark, and then the date of death. And if you know that person that headstone represents, and you look at that dash mark, it tells you the story of their life. And what is the story and what is the tone of that dash? When you look at it, is it a tone of, oh, they were always saying, oh, I should have done that, or why didn't I get this, or why didn't I take advantage of that? A lot of regrets, or they didn't make connections with people. Or when you look at their dash, is it a dash that tells you, oh my gosh, that Patti, I'm telling you, every opportunity that seemed to come up, she was taking it. I mean, even after she retired, she started a company, she did this, she did that. And oh my gosh, how inspiring was that? Because one of the number one things I hear all the time from people when I'm traveling and I meet people and I let them know that I've been traveling full time in my own motorhome for the last 4 years. They go, wow, I always thought about doing that, but I don't know. I'm just too scared to do that. And that's good to a certain extent. But I also take it another step forward because luckily I had the opportunity on the Marketers Cruise in January to meet Jen Duplessis, and she has put out some phenomenal books, and she was getting ready to do a volume 2 of her impact book. And she asked if I wouldn't mind. She liked my concept of living your best dash, because the bottom line is this: it's never too late to create a legacy that you can be proud of, no matter what your age is. Until you are no longer here, you could still make a difference and make a change. And that's what I like to encourage and inspire people to do. And so Jen said, this next book that I'm putting together, it's all about acronyms that are, positive and motivating. Do you have an acronym for the word dash? And I said, no, I never even thought about it before. She said, if you come up with an acronym, I'd love for you to be, do a chapter in the book. And I said, yeah. Well, the acronym that I came up with, DASH, is daring to achieve a successful and happy life. Daring is the perfect word, because all of the times when we set goals and intentions for ourselves, you want those goals and intentions to be something that just scares you just a little bit. And when I say scare, I mean that in a positive sense, that when you look at it, it's like, ooh, could I really do this? Ooh. But the next step I want you to do is I want you to be daring, because when we are daring to take these chances, even though it's scary, the thing is, the door that just closed, that door of teaching for me, when it closed, I'm thinking, okay, I've always been a teacher. If I'm not a teacher, what am I? Who am I? I needed to continue to move forward because there were all these other paths and all these other doors. And guess what? When I opened that next door, it led to a whole new thing I hadn't even suspected. I have had the privilege, and I mean that sincerely, I have had the privilege to create celebration of life services for family and friends of family. I have had the awesome privilege of officiating the weddings of former students of mine. I mean, I never imagined that, but that's just it. Once I figured out, wow, there's all these paths that I can take, it's like I've been on fire and I continue to do that. And that's what I want to encourage other people to do is, even though it may not seem that you have anything going right now, there is always something that you can look at. I mean, I found out about being a celebrant in the Sunday magazine. I opened up the Parade magazine and it was talking about second acts for people 55 and older. And it was this little teeny tiny article that talked about Life Cycle Celebrant. And it gave a website. I mean, it was meant to be for sure. I mean, I know that there's a reason behind all of it, and I don't take any of it for granted. The difference is I went for it. I didn't say, oh, that's nice, and then turn the page. I thought, you know what? This sounds interesting. I delved into it. And yes, there was a lot of things that I had to do. There was a lot of paperwork. And you know what? It's been a blessing ever since, just like creating my business. And through that, the other thing that's exciting that I want to share with you and your guest is by the end of this month, I'm going to be launching my very own podcast called Rediscovering Your Passion and Purpose with Patti. A lot of P's there because positive is part of what Patti is about. And I'm going to be bringing on people. And guess what, Ron and Hanna, I'm telling you right now, the two of you, you are perfect guests for this show, because one of the things that I want to show people and inspire people is that no matter what obstacles have come your way, as long as you can flip that switch from being negative to positive, even just a little bit, you don't let that roadblock or that detour stop you, you can accomplish anything. And you two are living examples of doing just that. You're rediscovering all the time what your passion and purpose is. This show right here that you're doing, this is a passion and purpose. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be doing it. And because
Absolutely.
of your passion and purpose, you are making other people's lives wonderful. So on my podcast, that's what I'm wanting to do, is have people like you on it that can encourage and inspire other people that you can make it happen. You can be daring and you can achieve the things that maybe you only thought were a dream or a slight possibility. And then, I want people to understand that when you hear the word success or successful, and that's the word that I'm using in the word dash, success is different for everybody, but many times as a society, in the media, whatever media form you're looking at, everybody wants to think that success is related to how much money you have, the car you drive, the house you live in. No, you know what? Sometimes in that day, success is about just getting out of bed. You made it out of bed,
Yeah.
and that's okay. If that's all you could do that day, that's
Absolutely.
all right. And then the last thing that I want to bring up, because I know we're running out of time here, but the last thing that I want to say is when I talk about the H in dash, about a happy life, one of the things that I challenge all of your audience to do is when you get up in the morning, I want you to look at yourself in the mirror. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, because already from you getting out of bed and walking to the bathroom, because that's usually your first stop in the morning, we've already had we could have had many negative thoughts that pass through our brain. I don't want to get up. It's too early. I got a headache, blah, 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 blah. On and on and on the reel goes. When you see yourself in the mirror, I dare you to do the following. I want you to look at yourself and I want you to say, HAPPY. And I'll bet right there, you're going to find yourself smiling. And what that does is that reactivates your brain. It flips that switch and you're going to think, I really look goofy. I can't believe I just did that. But what that has just done, that has changed your intention for your day. Does that mean that everything's going to be perfect and wonderful for the rest of the day? No. But at least it stopped the negative little nasty comments that were going through your brain just a few minutes ago. And it stopped it by putting something positive to help lay a foundation for a happy life. So I want you to go out there, Go to that mirror in the morning and say, I'm HAPPY, and just look at yourself, see how your face lights up, notice the glow that happens, and you know what? Start your day with a new intention. And when something bad comes along that day, take a couple breaths, be in the moment, and then move on. Because as the two of you know, it's all about keep moving forward. What's happened back here, stop looking over your shoulder. You can't do anything about that except learn the lessons and then learn and move forward. Isn't that right?
Yep. Yes.
Absolutely. And so I have one question to wrap everything up. And I like to ask this question just like Blanca likes to ask on her show. What is your one law of community that you would give to our audience today?
My one law of community is to extend a helping hand. And that could just be a matter of listening to somebody's story. And if I can share just real quickly, a couple weeks ago, for my 60th birthday, a couple years ago, I wanted to get a tattoo that was very meaningful and have it put on my arm. And because of COVID, that didn't happen. So a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, I went to have this tattoo put on. And it reminded me once again about not judging a book by its cover, because the gentleman who was the tattoo artist, I know for a lot of people, if they would have seen him walking down the street, they would have switched over to the other side of the street. This gentleman, over the next 2.5 hours that we were together, him doing this tattoo for me, his story was absolutely incredible. Everything was stacked against him to become a gang member in LA. Everything was stacked against him that he should have been dead by 15 years old. But because of his determination to make something from his life, he is now working in one of the top tattoo studios that is around here. And that just reaffirmed to me that by having this conversation, I could have sat there the whole time and he could have just done it, and I could have sat there and not asked any questions of him. But he gladly shared his story, and it opened up my eyes to another part of community that is just within 2 hours of where I live. And he exposed me in his conversation about the world that he came from. And that's what it's about, is being aware of the people and places that are around you. Don't be afraid of that. Learn the stories, grow from that, and help those people however you can. Because my why right now for what I'm doing is paying it forward, just like all the people who paid it forward to me, whether it was to help me get into college or anything else I did. It's my turn now at 62 to be the sage and to pay it forward like others did. It's a good thing, as Martha Stewart says.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's
because life is an adventure, and I want everybody to enjoy the journey.
Yes,
absolutely. And the best way to do it is with others.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely, yes. The more, the merrier.
Most definitely, always. That's how you build the community up.
That's exactly right. And, it's like the analogy that they use that, it just takes one pebble to be tossed into that pond, and then the ripple effect happens. And that's exactly what your show is doing. It's tossing that pebble in there, and the ripple effect that the two of you are creating. I mean, how cool is that? That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Yeah, and we know, well, I know personally from my experience that you don't get the other side of someone hearing those stories, especially when, you're on the side of sharing the story, if you don't speak up and share it. And that's a lot of what I preach, is like, you got to actually like be willing to share your story if you want to do anything in this world and go anywhere with anyone, really.
And the thing is, for example, I met you guys on Blanca's Law of Life show. If I wouldn't have been daring to go to her show in the first place and be able to be daring to speak on her show when I had the opportunities, when she, Blanca was the one who taught me, when someone hands you a mic, you take the mic. And that's just it. It's sharing our stories. And because when we share our stories, we are able to make connections, like I've been able to make connections with you and so many other incredible people. And that's what opens those doors, as you both know. That's how our communities all expand.
Yep.
And it's me. I'm more than happy to help you, but you're helping me. And it's not because I want anything from you or you want anything from me. It's just about helping people. And I mean, that's a blessing, and that is a privilege.
Yes.
Absolutely. And speaking of which, I want to help you go, since I see that it's we're getting closer to that time for your appointment. I know you have that meeting you got to do, so I don't want to hold you any longer.
Well, thank you once again. The two of you have been
Absolutely.
absolutely wonderful, and this has been a thrill for me.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Patti.
Thank you. Yeah.
We'll
Thank
definitely
you for
be
being
talking in
here
future,
and
as
sharing
always.
your story.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's been great.
Well, alrighty, Patti. We will talk to you later.
Okay.
Yep. Well,
So yeah, everyone needs to go and follow Patti. Find her on her website. Find her on Facebook, Instagram, all of those things. She is obviously amazing. If you couldn't tell. Sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, you're fine. I've spoken most throughout this time, other than our guests. So, I just wanted to say, wrapping this up, I feel like that was such a beautiful story of beginning, especially since there's a lot of beginnings that she shared. She didn't just share with us the beginning of what's going on now in her life. She shared all the way up to it, all the different beginnings that kind of brought it, because there's not just one beginning in our lives. We
Oh no, we have
really,
multiple cycles. We
yep,
cycle.
we all seem to have a misconception that we can just have one beginning. But we constantly start over and constantly redevelop ourselves, and as we redevelop ourselves, that's what I feel really leads us to reaching out and figuring out other people's stories, because we start diving deep inside ourselves and trying to figure out really what our story is, because we're grown up told what our story is. And then you become an age where you realize that there's so many more things beyond what's just in front of you, and you got to realize, there's something you might need to ask others about to get their perspective, and really realize what's going on. um, you know that's really why I found myself doing this personally myself. So I appreciate having a voice like her on today.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, and every time we do something new or start anything new, I feel like, we move into a different version of ourselves, whether that's a better version, hopefully. But yeah, it's just kind of, I always think that we have cycles. That's just my thought. Just like
Yeah.
a woman has a cycle every 28 days, men do too, and we
Oh
all
yeah.
start over,
Absolutely.
and it's just a refreshing. It's okay. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with it, and you just got to go with the flow.
Yep. Well, with that said, thank you everybody for coming out today, viewing our show, coming in and supporting our guest Patti Stueland. Um, Go and check her out on all her platforms. Go and check her out on Facebook and her website. Go and check out her new podcast when it opens up and gets started. And also go and check out that new book. That volume 2 book of impact. Like, go and check it out. Go and read her piece. Well, read the whole book, but really dive in. And really see what different things she was talking about today, and kind of get that feeling of making a difference for that dash part of your life. So when people do go back to look and remember you, they go and they go and remember you in a way that you would love to be remembered.
Yeah,
um,
most definitely.
so
Go live your best dash, as Patty says.
yes, go live your best
Well,
dash.
alrighty, I guess that's it for today.
Yep, that is it. Thank you,
All right.
everybody, and see you next week on our second episode of the month that
Yes. See you next week.
engulfs self-development and self-empowerment.
Yes. That is that one.
Yes.
All right. Bye, guys.
All
Thanks for
right.
being here.
Bye, guys. Love you all.